D.C. I am in Oxford this morning, but in our Jackson studios, alongside my good friend Lance Tolbert, is State Representative Clay Mansell. He represents District 56 there in central Mississippi and is kind enough to join us. Representative Mansell, thanks for being with us this morning. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me in. I'm excited to be here today.
But we actually have another guest on the line as well, and I want, if you don't mind, you to introduce to us Mika Hartman, mom of Hudson.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to introduce Mika. I've been lifelong friends with Mika. I've been very involved with her story and her family, and I was just super excited when she reached out to me about the Purple Alert. So she has been a champion of this and other laws that we've been able to pass in Mississippi prior to me getting elected. So Mika's been a champion for the cause, and I'm super excited to share the line with her today.
Mika, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so let's start out, Representative Mansell, with Purple Alert. I think there are a lot of people that go, wait, what is that? So let's just start at a very basic level and talk about what House Bill 873 is.
Yes. The Purple Alert would complement the Amber Alert and the Silver Alert. So right now you have the Amber Alert that probably most people are familiar with.
Sure.
But the Purple Alert, in one word, it will educate the public, law enforcement officials as to exactly what's going on. Many times if you hear an Amber Alert, the first thing you might think is abduction or, a custody case where somebody's being transported to another site. But with Purple Alert, it could easily be a child at their house that has just gotten away and they need to be dealt with differently. So the Purple Alert in one word really helps. Minutes matter in a case like that. So the Purple Alert would educate people really quick on the type of lost child or adult or senior citizen, whatever that you had.
So, Mika, if you don't mind tell us a little bit about your story and about Hudson.
Absolutely. Thank you. So Hudson is just this ball of light. He came into our world and has just totally, I think that we were always really good people. Clay's known me for forever. I think we were always good people, but he's made us just better people and more aware of the changes that need to come. I've been on this journey for just a few short years, but when I think about all the moms that have been on this journey and blazing this trail for many years before and how this layer of protection would have helped many of them, it's just kind of time for us to have this conversation. I know for me, Hudson is a bolter. He will walk out the front door if it's cracked in the least little bit, and he will be out and gone, running with as fast as he can, with his head down, and not looking for anyone. And Hudson is nonverbal. So if Hudson did get out of my sight for any amount of time, he wouldn't be able to communicate with anybody where he's supposed to be or who he's supposed to be with. And that's if he found someone nice enough to stop and help him.
Yeah.
We often see that children who do get away, they run towards the water. Lots of drowning. 70 to 90% of tragic deaths with children with cognitive disabilities are found drowned. We also know that they run into busy streets, and I know that for a fact with Hudson. That's why we live on the end of a cul-de-sac, because I can't risk him running out in a busy street. We moved from Ocean Springs to past Christiane because our street was very busy and no one stopped at the stop sign. So these are real worries for families.
And you mentioned, so Purple Alert is designed to establish additional means to aid search of missing persons with cognitive disabilities. And Representative Mansell, you said a second ago, this is not just for children, it's also for seniors and adults who have cognitive disabilities as well. I mean, I think about it, Mika, with your story just a second ago, you mentioned that Hudson is nonverbal. I've got 3 kids of my own, and 2 of them are young, and they are verbal, and they do not have cognitive disabilities. But I think parents of all ages look up, and they're like, wait, where did my kid go? And there's got to be a layer of fear that goes along with that if your son or daughter or father or mother or uncle or aunt or whoever it is has issues that don't allow them to communicate the way fully healthy people do, it's a scary thing. This feels like really important legislation. Representative Mansell, what kind of feedback have you gotten in the House with regard to this? Is this one that's a slam dunk?
I don't want to say anything's a slam dunk. That might jinx us. But we've had lots of support across the board. In fact, Micah called me this morning. Another representative signed on. So we're adding co-sponsors daily. We also, what I was really excited about is we're the second state to do this. And I think in this case, being first is going to not being first is going to work to our advantage. We saw what Florida did. And theirs is not able to be a joint alert. So with ours, you can have an amber purple alert, which, in 2 words, you're really saying a lot there. So I think we've tweaked the legislation. We've answered any concerns. So I do hope it's a slam dunk, but we're networking and making sure that everybody's on board and we answer any questions they have ahead of time.
I appreciate the caution that you're exercising in that. That certainly is wise. Micah, you sound to me like a mother who has been a huge advocate. Have you had this conversation with law enforcement officials, with local people about the importance of this? And if so, what kind of a reaction have you gotten?
So absolutely. A couple of years ago, I was in touch with the Attorney General's office, and we started having the conversation. There's so many stories, and I've got my computer pulled up. Even a mom in Pearl wrote me that she has a 20 and a 21-year-old, both with autism, and how they have eloped on her multiple times, and she has been begging for changes. I do believe it is the next steps for us once we get the purple law in law, that it becomes the next steps for law enforcement to get the training they need. We know that with Hudson, with Down syndrome, he has characteristics that you can see he was born with a disability.
Sure.
But there's a lot of children out there who don't have any markers for you to see. And so law enforcement being able to recognize those, understand stemming better, understand how to communicate with the nonverbal. Also, I've even recently been educated on, Hudson is nonverbal. He can't communicate with you even through sign language or we're working on a communication device, but there's also just non-vocal, and sometimes non-vocal is just as scary, because if the person that is lost can communicate through, like, let's say, sign language, the person receiving that information has to be able to understand sign language, and we know that it's the least spoken language. So there's a lot of layers to this. But yes, I believe law enforcement needs to get involved. We need to do a really great training. I have somebody on standby ready to come train our entire state. I would also love to have inside the I know, right? And I would also love to have all the police cars ready. Should a purple alert go out, that they are equipped with things like weighted blankets, weighted stuffed animals, fidget spinners, poppets, you name it, so that should a purple alert go out and they be the first law officer on the scene, that they have tools in their cars to help them, to help the child be able to de-escalate while waiting for mom to get there. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this. I know that in our state it would also be great to have a ledger of all of our friends with cognitive disabilities with up-to-date photos and information about them and things that they may enjoy. Like, for instance, I could say, Hudson, if you turned on Toy Story or Nemo, he'd probably run towards you quickly.
Wow.
If you don't have that, he'd probably run away from you. And I think
Sure.
that's all great information to share. So obviously there's a lot of moving pieces to this, and this is just the first step, but it's long overdue. I was visiting with a friend of mine who used to be the secretary for the governor and the press secretary, and she said, I thought this was already in place. And I mean, that's just how unless you're on this journey, you don't realize, and just this one color coding of something that's already out there, that's already invented. We're not reinventing a wheel here, and this isn't at a cost. This is just a layer of protection that is long overdue.
Micah, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and thank you for sharing your story and Hudson's story with us as well.
Absolutely, anytime.
Representative Mansell, you got time to hang with us for one more segment this morning, or do you have to split?
I can hang out with y'all, yeah.
All right, we'll continue the conversation with Representative Mansell. Thanks so much to Mika Hartman for joining us this morning. We've got more of the Gallo Show coming up. with you from the Trustmark Bank studio. We'll continue this conversation and also maybe a couple of other things with Representative Mansell on the other side of this timeout. Gallo Show, Richard Cross. On a beautiful day in the Magnolia State, this is the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk, Mississippi. I'm Richard Cross in for Paul this morning. We're continuing our conversation with Clay Mansell, who represents District 56. That's Hinds and Madison County, or parts of Hinds and Madison County in the Jackson metro area. What an incredible story that Mika Hartman had to share with us. And Clay Mansell is the lead sponsor of an amendment to the Amber. Amendment may not be the right word. In addition to Amber Alerts, to add Purple Alert to that. And that is to focus on people with cognitive disabilities. I was thinking, Representative Mansell, during the break, so there's bad out there, right? We know that there's evil in the world. There are bad people. But here in the state of Mississippi, there is also a ton of good and a ton of people that want to help and want to do well. This Purple Alert, in much the same way that Amber Alert has done, I feel like it empowers citizens of Mississippi to help in an area where help is needed. There's not a whole lot that is more disconcerting than one of those Amber Alerts pops up on your phone and you see a report of a missing child or a missing adult. But there's also nothing that's a whole lot better than when you get the follow-up alert that says the Amber Alert has been canceled, the person in question has been found and is safe. It feels like Mississippians, and in other places as well, have been able to help more because of knowing that there is an issue, that there's somebody or something to be on the lookout for. Doesn't this Purple Alert empower people to be able to help even more?
Absolutely. It does the exact same thing. And I think we're going to have lots of great success stories that we hear about this because the Purple Alert puts you on alert for different things. Like, I mean, you could literally be on the beach and hear a Purple Alert in the town you're in, and you know immediately where to look or what to be looking for, where an Amber Alert, you may be looking for somebody, in a car driving down the interstate. A Purple Alert, it tells you what to look for. So I think early on we're going to have lots of great success stories with this. So exactly what you said. I'm really excited to see this come into action and help the citizens, help their friends.
I appreciate you bringing this to the floor in the House and wish you nothing but success in this. I mean, this feels like an easy win for the entire legislature. And hopefully it will not have any hiccups between now and ending up on the governor's desk for signature.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we know about the legislature is the House and the Senate always agree on everything. The House and the Senate march in lockstep. There's never a difference of opinion on any issue, especially an issue as important as Medicaid expansion and health care in Mississippi. Maybe I am speaking with tongue in cheek just a little bit.
Let's hope it goes like that. That'd be best case scenario right there.
Yeah, it doesn't always work exactly like that. We've got both the House and the Senate, both chambers are taking up this healthcare conversation, the idea of Medicaid expansion. Give us, we've been talking about this a good bit this morning. Give us a little bit of a sense of what's going on the House side of things as we debate this very important issue in Mississippi.
Well, I will tell you one thing, maybe not exactly in line with your question, but early on, I served as vice chair of the Medicaid Committee,
right.
And we did pass on the House side a House bill that would implement presumptive care for any lady that was expecting a child. So currently, if you go to the doctor right now, you would have to go to the Medicaid office and wait up to a month to get on Medicaid, and in that time, you're not getting care and the child is not getting the prenatal care. So that passed. I was really excited about that. Any doctor's office that's willing to, they can qualify the mom for 60 days. So they have a 60-day window to go get on Medicaid. So that's super exciting. We have a high infant mortality rate. This should help with that. And also the cost to the state. A premature baby sometimes cost upwards of $1 million to care for. So this, and it passed the House. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think it was like 110 to 9, something like that. So that was great. And then more to your question, it's early on. In fact, if you have somebody on tomorrow, they'll be able to share more with you. But today at 3 o'clock, we have a very detailed hearing of kind of what they're going to be presenting, what Medicaid kind of needs. The Medicaid Committee will be taking that up today at 3 o'clock.
Clay Mansell is vice chair of the Medicaid Committee, so very involved in those conversations. One of the things that the lieutenant governor appears is going to be included on the Senate side is the work requirement for Medicaid expansion. Where does the House fall, and maybe where specifically do you fall on that part of the conversation?
I don't see it moving forward without the work requirement.
Okay.
I think that's key to the entire process. I think it's dead without the work requirement.
And we've seen some level of success in Georgia, right, with that as part of the bill that they passed, and it was challenged, and now some debate as to whether or not the federal government is going to continue to challenge that, or if they're going to kind of rest and not continue to appeal. How much of a model is what has happened in Georgia in play for what's happening here in Mississippi?
Well, it's kind of like the purple alert we talked about. I think we're able to look at lots of states, and I've read a case study, in Louisiana, where it was more on the negative side, where the estimates were just crazy wrong. So we're able to take the surrounding states that look a little bit like Mississippi and get the best practices from them, and for more than just Georgia, but look at what some of the surrounding states got wrong and fix that before ours, or if ours goes forward, have the best practices in place.
And help me out if I'm wrong here, but wasn't one of the concerns in Louisiana that you would see a significant number of people opting out of their current private insurance to kind of be in line for the Medicaid, and those numbers have not really bared out the way they were afraid they might?
I've heard that was a concern. I don't know what the numbers look like in Louisiana.
That's fair. Do you get the sense that there is more agreement than disagreement between the House side and the Senate side on this?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that. It's so early on, and I mean, I'm a new person. I still tell people I just learned where all the bathrooms were about 3 weeks ago. So I'm taking my time and just listening and feeling out what everybody's saying.
What else? I mean, we're closing in on the deadline for any bills that are going to make it to the floor. I think Monday. I think it's next Monday is the deadline for new legislation. Is there anything else that is pending right now that's kind of hanging in the balance? Not sure if it's going to get to the floor or not.
I have heard lots of great bills that have been dropped. They're just now starting to work their way through committee. So a lot of that's going to be up to the chairman. I'm not sure which will make it and which won't. But I will tell you, your legislators have been working super hard getting bills drafted. There was one deadline last night at midnight, and I know the box was open until midnight to get stuff dropped. So you'll really see your committees start to work hard, getting those, deciding which bills make it to the floor. But there's going to be lots of great ones that come out.
Just a couple of minutes left with Representative Clay Mansell. He represents District 56, Hinds and Madison counties. So one of the kind of key opposition points for people that are against Medicaid expansion was we don't need another handout. We were talking earlier in the show about the fact that maybe we're in agreement on that, but the simple fact is we are already paying, as Mississippians that pay federal tax, we're already kind of paying for this, and maybe Mississippi should be taking advantage of what so many other states have already done. Is that a reasonable way to look at this?
Yes, I think so. And like you mentioned, with the work requirement, and we need a healthier Mississippi. So there's lots of ways you can look at this from a cost-saving standpoint as well. So I think with all the other stuff we have to evaluate, like we mentioned with the other states, I think you're going to see I don't know if that was my alarm or your alarm going off.
Oh, you know what? That was me. My bad.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. I was grabbing my phone. I think we're going to see a great plan presented, and that it'll be something that represents well, and then we'll see which way